has won the first 6 events outright. I'm said to you, could she go the whole way? Statistically, it's not in her favor, but she's shown that if it's going to happen, it may as well be her.
We're expecting a great battle between her and Stefano, but Adams has just shown her pure dominance, going off like a frog in a sock.
How does a frog in a... Is that an Australian thing?
It is. It goes off.
Let's take a look at the event number 6. 4 rounds for time. 300-meter run outside the stadium. Then climb rope 4, 3, 2, 1 as you go through the rounds. And then a 44-foot yoke carry for the women. 380 for the men. 480. It is a 16-minute time cap. Haley Adams is your leader in lane number 10. A host of Americans join her. Maybe the next daughter, Katla Kettelsdottir, is the lone international in those first 10. In the back row, lanes 11 through 20, Devin Kim hot on the heels of that young lady.
And absolutely killing the field. 500 points in the bag already. Is she going to go 6 from 6?
Haley Adams has already made history by going 5 for 5. She now has 11 career event victories at the CrossFit Games. That is number 1. All right, what are we looking out for if she's going to do 6 for 6?
Starting off with the run, probably a really good way to start before you get to all the heavy implements and the gymnastic stuff. Is belt them out with a run first, but being efficient on your rope climbs is the key to getting this done. We've seen the other divisions get this done yesterday, and it came down to the efficiency on the rope and how well they were able to stay as quick as they could in that little zone before they picked up the yoke. Now, once they do pick up that yoke, it's at a reasonably heavy weight. We've seen it a couple of years ago at the games in Carson, and it was a little bit lighter, but now we've got a little bit heavier weight on the yoke, which is going to put a little bit of pressure on their core. So whoever's got a better core stability going through that yoke is going to get through this a lot quicker.
Hannah Hall is the first one back into North Park after the run. Haley Adams was right on her tail. And Haley Adams is the first one up the rope. And look at that efficiency. Key to climbing rope here, Jeremy, is what? You want to be able to lock the rope in your feet. You're not climbing with your arms, you're climbing with your legs.
Absolutely. We've seen it in previous event 5. Their legs were pretty smoked from the dumbbell squats. Now having to use their legs more so than their upper body. We'll see who's got more in the tank. But these girls getting up and down the rope fairly easily. 4 rope climbs required for this first round. And Zeus looking really dominant over the North Park. And the first time they've seen the North Park and the Zeus rig for some of them.
That Zeus rig is 171 feet long, 18 feet high to the top of the rope, 20 feet high for the rig, 16 and a half feet deep is this Zeus rig. There's Kayla Stefano getting up top and now getting into the yoke. This is a 380-pound apparatus. It's 50 inches across, 7 feet tall. The bar on your shoulders is 3 inches in diameter. That's an easy 44 feet stroll for Haley Adams.
Our leader from start to finish in the first 5 events, and she's backing up round number 2 of the 300-meter run, well out in front of everybody else. Second place, bottom of screen in the pink, is Kayla Stefano with all the work to do.
Break out from here, you'll go on another 300-meter run. Again, 4 rounds. The rope climb number decreases. The run is the same. The yoke move is the same. You're just going to drag that thing in increments across the stadium turf. And that becomes a lonely run for Haley Adams. Run your own race. Look at that gap. I got news for you, Jeremy. This thing is a 16-minute time cap, and looking a lot like Haley Adams is going 6 for 6 unless something goes divergent.
Adams making her way back into North Park for 3 rope climbs. She'll run along and into her lane. So all the athletes covering the same amount of distance. coming up.
We'll get to the first rope.
It just looks so daunting. But she is locking those feet in really well. You see that first foot getting up, or the first leg getting up as high as possible, and then that second foot trapping the rope as fast as possible to take the pressure off the arms. You see she releases both the arms when she pulls her body up into position. Get a better shot of it here.
Stefano is making some headway on the rope, but Adams is a full climb ahead of her.
Adams almost getting those feet above her shoulders. So I spoke about efficiency on the rope. There you have it. And there are 3 rope climbs done for Hayley Adams. I noticed something before on her first yoke carry. Her core wasn't set super tight and her elbows were flaring out the back a little. So I want to just make sure that she is getting those elbows under and getting that torso up as high as she can. And as you saw just then, the yoke goes down, the core not locked in as tight as it should be.
You want to keep that front of the yoke up. As soon as it starts to tip down, that's when you're in trouble. The yoke will stop itself, not you.
The yoke carry, try and walk a little bit wider than normal and go that heel and toe positioning to keep those skids as flat as possible. Now Hayley Adams, I don't know if you noticed bottom of the screen, just grabbed some chalk on the way out, so she's minimizing the downtime, chalking on the way out, so when she comes back to that rope climb, she's got 2 to come back to. She'll be straight up the rope without mucking around.
Getting a little bit of a push from Ellie Kerstetter. Here's the thing. I think Hayley Adams is a full round in front. Adams is on cruise control.
Coming in second last year to Kayla Stefano has really lit a fire. She was a little disappointed. She said she was disappointed for the entire year and she wasn't going to let it happen again. Like, you go into the second half of competition with 600 points. We're talking like Matt Fraser-esque type leads.
Let's get down to Nikki with more on Hayley.
You guys, if you remember the last time we talked to Hayley Adams in the last event, she told us that she felt like she really had something to prove when it came to that heavy weightlifting. So when she was pressing that bar overhead, she was shocked and surprised to find the number that she did, in fact, end up making. But in here, she has nothing she feels like she needs to prove. In fact, this is the stuff that comes easy to her. These endurance races, these sort of like long chippers, grinding events. This is where we see her shine, as she has been doing clearly so far for the last few minutes.
Hayley Adams was born for this. I mean, she got a rack of weights for Christmas in 2014, sort of. It wasn't for her. It was for her brother, but she kind of wound up using it more than he did. It's one of those like, hey, you mind if I move this into my room because you haven't touched it in a while type situations?
Like if you buy your wife a lawnmower, that sort of stuff, or a wheelbarrow. It's not really for them.
Hayley Adams off the rope again. She'll have to maneuver the yoke just 2 more times here.
So with the setup, I want to see those feet a little bit wider and getting onto those heels before. Now, got to be careful not to tight rope walk. So getting those feet nice and narrow is going to make that yoke sway a little bit, which is what it's doing. And the positioning of that bar really important, because you don't want those skids to hit the turf at the front, because that's going to cause all sorts of dramas. So setting it a little bit lower, especially when you're moving the yoke as quick as these ladies are, you don't want that to dig into the turf and stop your track.
Kayla Stefano making her way out to the yoke, and notice a difference in what you just saw. Stefano walking her way to the yoke. Hayley Adams ran the entire way. Put the yoke down, got the heck out of Dodge. Adams seems like this is just old hat, move, move, move. Stefano is taking that walk break to catch her breath a little bit, and that's a separator.
But if you know you're not going to make up that ground in the last portion of this event, there's no point chasing Hayley Adams down.
Fair.
Second position and that 90 points, she just has to maintain that second place now and keep climbing. It's going to be a massive effort for Kayla to catch her. But streaks ahead of anybody else. And still looking pretty fresh on this run.
It's the second event she's done today, with a 164-point lead coming in as she passes Tori Dow. Stefano heading out on the run. It is her fourth and final lap outside.
As Adams comes in.
What part about Haley Adams has changed, though, in the last 10 minutes? Nothing. Nothing at all. She looks the same as she did 9 minutes ago when this event started.
But she's looked the same the entire 5 previous events. She's obviously worked with her different program leading into the games. But I think that mental fortitude and not to break regardless of how things go, I think's really held in her favor. And there is the last rope climb for Haley Adams as she comes down to get the yoke for the last time. And is she going to get under 10 minutes?
Gonna have to hurry. 380 pounds on a yoke. This is something she practices once a month at least. 18 seconds, 44 feet. Can she get under 10 minutes?
I reckon so.
Yeah, it's not even going to be close.
And it's nowhere going to be close to second place either. But Haley Adams, 6 from 6 and 600 points. What a lead.
9:58 unofficially for Haley Adams.
And now we wait.
Stefano just back in from the run. Climb rope once more, then move the yoke as she stares down the barrel of 90 points in a second place finish. The only problem is Adams' lead will grow to 174. This time Stefano taking that jog out to the yoke.
Stefano's got a little bit of time to play with here, so she doesn't need to rush. She just maintains position and gets over the line. She will secure those 90 points. But you can see that core just starting to fail now at the back end of event number 6.
Good work for Stefano as she comes in second. I mean, come on.
She's had time to recover already. Kayla not even able to get that arm up or get off that chest piece. And Haley Adams is bouncing off the walls. And so she should.
Faith Ferguson now trying to complete her third yoke carry. Talked about the Michigan 7. Pardon, Ferguson, this is her fourth yoke carry. A little divergent here. It's going to wind up being about a 46-foot yoke carry. But one of the Michigan 7. 80 of the fittest teens on earth. 7 from within 30 miles. Faith Ferguson with a third-place finish here on the yoke rope. She went to regionals, too, by the way. Competed on a team at the Central Regional this past year. 17 years of age. She'll try to get back there in the future and work her way into the open division.
I'm sensing a theme here with these 16 to 17-year-old males and females branching into that regional realm.
They're closing the gap.
In a team, just to get that experience when they do come out on the floor. It's not an overwhelming experience.
Chloe Smith, defending champion from the 14-15 age group. Somebody who talked about wanting to get to regionals as well. A goal of hers next year. There's Riley Cron now, jogging out for what will be her final movement of the yoke. Began the event in 17th. 98 points for Riley Cron in these games. Out of Nampa, Idaho. Hometown right next to Boise.
Riley not getting that torso upright as much as I'd like, and that is why that yoke is coming straight back down. She needs to pull those hips underneath the center of the yoke just to center the weight as much as she can. And she set it a little bit higher than normal because those skids are not very high off the ground and they're almost digging in. But Haley jumping up and down trying to get her home.
Impressive, though, how she's finished in this event right now. She's on the front end of the standings and came into the game saying, listen, I can't, heavy squats is not my wheelhouse. Heavy odd objects, not my wheelhouse. And she will get in well under the cap and well up the leaderboard. Riley Cron. It's an eighth place finish for her. You can see the yoke downfield starting to take its toll on some of the competitors as well, trying to finish their third movement. Here's Mia Nightingale, one of those Michigan 7, along with Faith Ferguson.
Mia started out with those feet really wide, a really good base to work with, which is what we want to see with the yoke walk. The problem is those elbows are just buckling behind her a little. She can keep those elbows underneath and keep that yoke centered in the middle of her body, which she has done for the last portion of that last yoke carry. It doesn't look that bad, but these young ladies are suffering a fair bit.
Erica Folo. To put it in perspective, a 380-pound yoke, a giant panda weighs 330 pounds. You are walking around with a giant panda plus on your back.
The skids for Erica Folo's yoke going all over the place.
We are about 35 seconds from the time cap. And most everybody is on their final movement of the yoke. Michaela Senkis, also a Michigander. From Barbarian CrossFit, one of 3 at the games from that box. Senkis trying to get in under the time cap. And she will on the left of your screen. Devin Kim exasperated on the right. Katla Kettelsdottir gets in under the cap as well. Senkis all out. 15 finishers. Haley Adams, chief amongst them, 6 for 6.
I think you might be right, Joel. I hate to say it, but I think she's going to go all the way. Absolute pure domination. We've had 6 different tests already, and Haley Adams looks like there is no chinks in the armor, lapping people as she went, but looked so comfortable. Positioning of that yoke almost flawless on the last yoke carry, and just did not seem to bother her at all over the entire time domain.
Let's go to Nikki.
Haley, you looked as fresh at the end of that event as you did in the beginning. Where other ladies were walking, you were still jogging. Where do you find the energy to keep moving like that?
I train like that, so bringing it to competition isn't really new to me. I always like to take any little advantage I get. Like if I can know I'll make up this much time, then I have good coaches to let me know that.
Now, we've seen you in this age group division several times already. We've also seen you compete as an individual on the regional level. How does that experience shape you here?
I think competing at regionals was probably the best choice and decision that I made. I have experience for the oncoming years, and I also know how I am as a competitor. So, yeah.
Wonderful wins today. Great job.
Thank you.
Haley Adams finishes her second day here at the games in first place, and it's not even close. Haley Adams, 6 for 6, 600 points, and a 174-point lead over her previous foil, Kayla Stefano. Results here in event number 6. Adams 1, Stefano 2. Devin Kim comes in 9th. She came into the day in contention for a podium, so see where she winds up Saturday and Sunday.
Really surprising to see that from Devin Kim, because she does love that heavy stuff, and the yoke should have suited her a lot more than it did. But Kayla still trying to claw back that lead, but Haley just keeps extending it by each event as we go past.
A 1 minute and 9-second win for Haley Adams. 6 for 6, the rope and yoke in the books. Little rodeo action. CrossFit Games brought to you by Reebok 2018 Rope and Yoke here at North Park. It's the teenage division, 16 and 17-year-old boys, the Alliant Energy Center. Glad to have you along with us here today. Jeremy Austin, our friend from down under, Joel Gadet, glad to have you along with us. Nikki Brazier is down on the turf underneath the cloud cover as we get set for event number 6. Noah Casey holds on to his overall lead, although look at number 2, Jeremy Austin. Dallin Pepper came into the day 5th, unfazed.
It sort of rattled him the first day, but he was aware that those movements were going to sort of shake him up a little bit. But now we see the more generic stuff that he's used to doing. It's some of it in his wheelhouse for today. We are going to probably see him move up the leaderboard over the next 2 days of competition.
Although this is anything but generic. Rope climbs and yoke walks.
4 rounds for time. 300 meters for the run around half of North Park. Rope climbs 4, 3, 2, and 1 each round. A 44-foot yoke carry each time. And these boys are going to be doing 480 pounds. 16 minutes on the time cap.
As your leader, Noah Casey, will be in lane 10. The fun thing about the Zeus rig is that there are 2 ropes per section. There's only 10 sections. So Noah Casey will be in the same section as Dallin Pepper chasing him. So you get to work right with the guy next to you. Ethan Elwell in lane 11 out of Guam. There is Dallin Pepper.
What a machine. So he didn't have a great start in event number 1, but he is slowly warming up, if you like. So 5.53 and a first place in event number 5. He was quite dominant over in the age pavilion earlier this morning. And he's got that look on his face where he means business. But this is going to be a great shakeout, not just for the battle for 1 and 2, Casey and Pepper. Don't discount Elwell, Anderson, and Cade as well. And the former 14-15 champ, Ramirez.
Dallin Pepper is chasing Noah Casey at this point. He comes in first overall. Weightlifting is his wheelhouse. Moving a yoke, I guess that qualifies as weightlifting. A little bit of a different style, strong man. The lead is 48 for the youngster out of Jefferson City, Missouri. "300-meter run around the outside of North Park." A little bit bigger North Park than last year, too.
A lot more seating for the fans, which are starting to come into North Park. The sun trying to do its best to break through as well. The 16-17 boys starting off the first 300-meter run. Then they're back in for 4 rope climbs, and they must move that yoke 44 feet, 380 pounds. A challenging weight. Not too heavy, not too light.
480 pounds on that yoke. About half a grand piano.
Just half.
Just half.
Is it that grand if it's only half a piano?
Then it's an upright. It's about the weight of an upright piano.
So don't be confused by the spread of the run as the 16-17 boys come in.
If you ran short on the front end, you run long on the back end. And if you ran long on the front end, you get back to your position earlier in the run. Dallin Pepper up to the top of the Zeus rig, an 18-foot climb from the ground to where they have to touch. The Zeus rig, 171.5 feet long, 16.5 feet deep. There is Noah Casey. Despite Dallin Pepper making the charge, Casey's lead actually has grown by 4 points over the first 2 events here today. Get that rope lodged in between your feet. We talked about it with the teenage girls division. You're climbing with your feet, less your hands. Lock the rope in your feet, gives you a place to stand, you know?
We're talking about time under tension, and if this event 6 is anything to go by, you've got your own body weight under tension on this rope, and it comes down to grip strength. So the less time you can spend on the rope, the better. Then you've got to move the implement on screen, which is the yoke, and Dallin Pepper finishing up first. So the less time you can spend with that yoke on your back rack position, the better. And blink and you'll miss Dallin Pepper's yoke walks.
These guys are going to put piano movers out of business. This is easy. If you need someone to rearrange your dining room, I got 20 guys for you to call. Oh, well, just outside the stadium, there is Gerardo Torres out of Puerto Rico, now making his way around North Park.
Casey now with some work to do with the back end, as Dallin Pepper is about to make that last turn to come back into North Park. Great overview shot. The distance, although, very important. And Pepper being in the middle of the arena. So we'll get a good idea where that lead is once that yoke starts to move.
Pepper, very much like Haley Adams, just has a cool, calm demeanor. Appears as if at least the first round of this event has taken zero toll on his body. Listen, you talk to his coaches, the one thing they tell you is he will outwork you and not complain about it. He trains to be exhausted. He'll do workouts at home at Spanish Fork CrossFit. He'll finish something. His coach will come up as he's sprawled out on the floor and say, how was it? Dallin will say it was terrible, and he'll say, good, you have a minute, we're doing it again. Pepper pops right back up. He does it again. So in an event where you will be taxed, maybe he won't be taxed.
Dylan Cade with it all to do today. The first couple of grabs with their feet on the rope are looking really good. It's that one at the top that I'm worried about. And he doesn't want to, he just did then. Don't want to leave yourself short at the top. You're just doing extra work. To get maybe an inch or two on that second rope pull, he's just done an extra rope climb. More time under tension on the rope. As Pepper now finishes off yoke walk number 2.
And he gets that yoke down ahead of the man behind him by 7 seconds. Ethan Elwell is the man in second place at the moment. There's Pepper departing the arena.
No surprise with Elwell. He is one of our taller 16-17 boys. He's sitting in at 6'1". So it's going to make those rope climbs a whole lot easier.
6 foot tall, 17 years old, out of Mong, Guam. Moved to Guam 7 years ago. It is a 27 to 30 hour trip for Ethan Elwell to get here to the games. He might be the most internationally accomplished person here, though. He's got caps on the Guam soccer team at the national level. 7 of them. Vincent Ramirez shaking out those arms as he turns the corner. Goodman behind him, and there is Gerardo Torres trying to get some life into the arms as well. You can see the tacks of the rope climbs, and that turns into a 300-meter mole walk.
It's going to be a lot slower if you walk it. But the taxing event 5 on the legs starting to really tell here at North Park. It's been a pretty brutal day for these young men, but not so for the guy leading event number 6 and looking to climb to the top of the leaderboard where he was after the Masters. Oh, this is not the Masters online qualifier. He's not that old yet. The teenage online qualifier.
He's got many years in front of him.
He's only got about 25 years to go.
This is a 16-minute time capped event. We've got under 10 minutes left to go. 6:25 in as Pepper continues to climb rope. 4 rope climbs, 3 rope climbs, 2 and 1 based on the rounds.
Now, being taller athlete, rope climbs are a whole lot easier. You notice Elwell getting that big jump up, and he extends that massive torso and reaches up.
He can touch him too.
It's exactly what you want. Less time under tension, and that's where he's going to catch up some ground on Dallin Pepper, which he has just done. But there's only 1 rope climb remaining.
Don't walk to the yoke. Caught up the time, and now Pepper is going to have the yoke moved almost as Elwell was starting.
Now, the good thing with Elwell now, he'll put the yoke down. He'll be able to see where Pepper is, so he can pace this run. Because remembering, there's only one rope climb to go. Elwell can do it in 2 pulls. Pepper needs 3 pulls to get up there. But you don't want to get Dallin Pepper too far ahead of you if you want to get an event win. Elwell with a first place on event number 3.
That was the snatch event. Pepper winning PS this morning, the row, ski, and squat.
And looking over his shoulder just to see what sort of distance he's got. Now Elwell, top of the screen now, about to turn with no shirt on. He's got, I'd say, about 50 meters of this 300-meter run to catch Pepper.
Well, we'll see not what kind of engine he has, but what kind of horsepower he has here. How can he shift gears to try to make up some ground? He certainly has a longer stride than Pepper.
It does look, however, that distance is extending. Pepper about to move back into North Park and chalking up the hands. So the pocket's full of chalk. He'll leave that there for somebody else to pick up on the way in.
Might turn into crushed chalk too. This is one rope climb and another 44-foot yoke walk. Elwell has returned. He began the day in 2nd place overall. He's 80 points back, now in 3rd. Pepper, that's 2. There is a 3rd and a touch. Now Elwell gets up in 2, and now he can sprint. He has Pepper in his sights, and Pepper does not see him coming. Elwell has caught Dallin Pepper. Get under the yoke and go. Elwell got it off the ground.
Kidding me.
Ethan Elwell put it down. Back up and going. Drop and get to the line.
Oh, it's tight.
It is Dallin Pepper unofficially.
Milliseconds in it.
19 hundredths of a second. And 100 points. Elwell.
If he doesn't put the yoke down, he takes the event. Things are tight here in North Park. Pepper with another 100 points. He's definitely on the charge on the way back up that leaderboard.
Dallin Pepper began this event 48 points back of Noah Casey, who led coming into the day, and he led after the first 2 events. We've got to find him out there right now as the athletes work their way in and out of the arena.
Like, I've heard of tight finishes, that's up there, but Pepper just took his time and didn't realize how close Elwell was.
Dylan Cade has finished. He came in 144 back of the lead. Yoke is across for Caleb Goodman as well, out of Suns Out, Guns Out CrossFit in Ashland, Virginia. It's an all-name team nominee.
I'll tell you what, there's some guns out today in North Park in the stands as well.
Benjamin Gutierrez, the Chilean, touches the top of the chest piece. Then you can see those times come through in the top in red for the finishers. Time cap 16 minutes, a little bit less than 5 minutes left to go. Tyler Anderson finishing. He will have the 7th place. You can see at the top of your screen, Gerardo Torres now in 8th across the line. We still don't have a Noah Casey sighting. With Nicolo Colli, the Italian, finishing.
Casey now moving back for his last rope climb and falling way behind.
There is Alejandro Arazola out of Bogota in Colombia. There is Casey. And his final rope climb. 13 finishers at this point, the most points that he can earn Noah Casey right now, 16. He's in trouble. Dallin Pepper just caught him.
By a long way.
Yep. So Casey will get under that yoke with that wide stance. Then he sets himself up with some work to do, but 3 events in which to do it on Saturday. And Casey is a finisher. He is through in 15th. That's 12 points for Noah Casey.
Ouch.
There's Lucas Push. Talked about Arazala a little bit ago from Colombia. Push also coming from the Latin America Regional. The 17-year-old out of Brazil. Great lineage of Brazilians right now coming through the teenage division. Luisa Marquez on the girls' side this year, 16 and 17-year-olds. She's been here each of the last 2 years. Competed in the 18.1 open announcement along with Guilherme Macieros and Antonelli Nicole. Anita Pravacci down in Rio. Guilherme Macieros, of course, threw up one of the biggest snatches in the games, let alone for teenagers last year. Just narrowly missed out on regionals in his first year in the open division. There is Arazala, who is asking, I believe, for a weight belt, and Dallin Pepper will go get one for him.
Absolutely love this sort of stuff. Competitors helping each other out. It's actually Evan Haynes helping him out with that.
Evan Haynes.
With that weight belt. Seems to have done the trick, though. But he still has 1 round to go and not a whole lot of time to do it.
Does have 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Arazala being from Colombia, they nearly had our first Colombian nationals come to the CrossFit Games this year. Team Colombia Parceros initially qualified out of the Latin America Regional. They were DQ'd. But it's those steps forward just in the growth of the sport in the region. You talk about the Brazilians, the Colombians. On the women's side, we'll see Jimena Delamer from Argentina. Grow the game, grow the sport of CrossFit.
See Jay Carlisle now about to finish off the last couple of feet, the 44-foot yoke walk, and Carlisle getting done.
That is 19th for Carlisle. And this is just about trying to finish. Just get over that line. CrossFit ultimately, it's never really a battle between the person next to you. It's a battle with the person inside you. Be the best you, and hopefully if you trust in the process, Dallin Pepper, be the best him. In his truth today, that is first place. If you're Arazala here, be the best you on this. Get in under the cap and have a great event.
Pepper did that, mentioned that to us a couple of days back. He just said he wanted to focus on what he was doing, and he was going to trust his abilities coming in and just be the best version of himself.
Now he's got a chance, 30 seconds. He's got to really hustle. He can probably get the rope climb in. 20 seconds. Arazala up, and with 13 seconds, he will try to get to the yoke. And he will say, you know what? Good day.
High fives in the next couple of seconds.
Good day. Time cap for Arazala. It's the same points regardless.
You got a minute. Watch behind.
And Dallin Pepper picks up his second event victory of the day.
Storming back up that leaderboard. A little bit of a shake-up on day one of competition. The first run out, Maya leading us out. But as the positions of the field played out, Pepper just dominated from the get-go. And he looks so comfortable coming around each run. And moving between, we saw different athletes walking, running. But here it was, Elwell on the left. And then Dallin Pepper, not sure where he was, but it was a great race to the finish. Elwell dropping down, and Pepper getting down and over the line, milliseconds. before the guy with 2 event wins.
Dallin Pepper is with Nikki Brazier again today.
That was a serious photo finish in the end. And when you were picking up your yoke for that last time and you looked over your shoulder and you saw elbow coming, what was going through your mind?
I knew it was going to hurt. I caught bad. I had a decent lead for the first few rounds, and then I saw him coming and I was like, well, it's time to go.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I know in the past when you've done well in the younger division, you were also doing some other sports and you played baseball. Now I hear you are dedicating your time fully to CrossFit. How's that changing when you get here on the floor?
I feel a lot more confident. I know that all the training I put in is going to pay off. So.
It's been a great day for you. Congrats.
It's been good. Thank you.
Understatement for Dallin Pepper. It's been good, Jeremy.
200 points and 2 event wins today for Dallin Pepper, and it's good. I'll take that any day of the week. But charging up the leaderboard, Dallin Pepper, look out for him at the back end of the CrossFit Games.
19 hundredths of a second.
It was good enough.
It was good enough.
Dylan Cade with that 3rd place position. Going to do well for him. He was currently sitting in 5th coming into this event, and he will move up as well. Vincent Ramirez doing exceptionally well coming in. He was in 7th position, but the guy who led coming in, Noah Casey, nowhere to be seen.
Dallin Pepper able to take his lead away from him as well through 2 days of competition and 6 events. Time to rest and recover for the boys 16 and 17.